home challenges. Okay. Where's it gonna look? Okay. I can't remember what it is. Okay, you know, I'm gonna go on a new game. Okay. So overwrite your existing game progress. Yes. These modifiers are unintended game experience. Could I be changed one game? Uh, Alright. So within the first minute, guys, we're gonna be able to try and complete the whole game. Okay, and I kind of know where I'm going because it's like a little just satanic ritual. I know. Yeah, I'm gonna change that 6 days a bit. I haven't got around to doing it. Yeah, so sorry for like the major delay in the song and that. I'm working on it though. Trying to figure out what like music things to use and that. It's kind of difficult.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so, love you. See you soon. Bye.
Alright. God, no. It's probably like the most best I could actually imagine. 1:15 in the morning, June 7th, right. So again, okay. I think the key is behind. Wait, just see. I know it.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
Oh yeah, what's up, viewer? I didn't see you. Alright. I need to conclude to finish this game off, right? Frank, we get an achievement. Like, I wanna run, man.
Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person. That I can't tell you all this myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut out this bit.
But I hope as you read this journal and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. And that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me.
You're right.
Just know.
The first one was trying to complete the game in 1 minute. I'm trying to complete the second. I'm trying to find all 24 voice diaries in under 10 minutes.
Someday.
There's a slope in my backyard. It's probably not a good idea to go near it. Yesterday was English Independence Day. May enable more translation on this. There goes my eardrum. Ow. This must... Jesus Christ. Ugh. How many views do I have? 354. I think the 16 is lit. Right, I've got 4 views. This only got 1 view, so... Oh, song's ended. Okay. Basically, this is just gonna be... Well, one thing about ending this video, I'm gonna try and redo this challenge. Because it's quite tempting just to complete. Yeah, you know. Okay, should we just mess around with modifiers? Modified in country. Well, it's on. Alright, let's start. I'll just start with all the modifiers, because screw it, I like modifiers. Tell me what I need, tell me what I don't... Hashtag yawn. Boring.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like,
what
really seriously.
It's a shuttle.
Okay, so, love you. See you soon. Bye.
No, I'll click on video manager. Oh, okay, no, I don't care about this. Like, I don't mind it. What's your benefit level? I don't care about my benefit level. Ugh. I think copyright music, so. Yeah guys, I'll be quickly just getting through this. Yes, yeah. Welcome to nice.
Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fulbright Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you for taking a look at our commentary mode. Whenever you find an icon like the one you just clicked on, you can find out a little bit more about the game. I want to thank everybody who's added commentary. Janman and Carla, my co-founders of the company, Kate Craig, our 3D artist, Chris Remo, our composer, Sarah Grayson, the voice of Sam Greenbrier, and Corin Tucker, the lead singer of Heavens to Betsy and Slater Kinney and other awesome bands. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy commentary mode.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with, which I'll touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that my wife Emily Carroll did on the project. She did the house title image that we've used for our wallpapers and for the start screen of the game. She did the loading cassette tape, and she did the maps in the house, and actually handwriting, because we wanted something that was just a little bit spooky, maybe a little ominous, but something that sort of suited the tone of the game. And I was really glad to be working with her, and I was really glad that the other guys were too. We had a really good time. And people have responded quite positively to her title screen, which is something that I really appreciate, and I know she does too.
We never really discussed the idea of individually scoring each audio log ahead of time. I just got an email one day from Steve after they had done the first round of voice recording with Sarah Grayson, who did an amazing job as Sam, and he said he'd been thinking about the idea of giving each log a piece of music to ground it in the proper tone. So I just started doing these short 20 to 60 second pieces, and that ended up being the bulk of the work for the game. It was a very iterative process. I did them in the order they were recorded, and I would just keep sending revisions of each log to Steve, taking his feedback, modifying the piece, and sending it back. Especially at the beginning, the feedback was almost always pull it back more. I've never done music this subdued before. Even more so than most game music, it primarily exists to quietly suggest a mood and tone to the player. Sarah's voice is always the main audio content. The game soundtrack I worked on previous to this was Blendo Games' 30 Flights of Loving, which consists of some really huge, bombastic, brassy pieces. So switching gears to Gone Home and constantly hearing pull it back, less melody, was surprisingly challenging at first. But over time, I think Steve and I developed a pretty good rapport. For the most part, the diaries required fewer revisions each time. And it's always a good reminder in a collaborative endeavor that your contribution only exists to make the whole work better, not to be seen or heard unto itself.
Basically, guys, I had to just like cut a few songs in like my previous bit.
I had seen Bikini Kill and Bratmobile play their first show at the North Shore Surf Club in Olympia. That was Valentine's Day, 1991. And I was kind of blown away by the incredible rawness and the honesty that they wrote with, and the kind of flippancy that they had. I thought was really interesting. But you know, to have the opportunity to talk about all of these issues that are really important to young women, I thought was really special. And I thought that what they were doing was taking...
It's weird hanging out with girls. Daniel was around ever since I was little, and other girls? I don't know. But being around Lonnie is like instantly just right. I gave her the grand Psycho House tour and took my revenge on Super Nintendo. And it was like, I don't know, I finally found someone I feel normal around. I drove her home and she gave me this tape and said, "You have got to listen to this." I haven't stopped.
Yeah, I ended up being pretty happy with this. This is the only picture of Lonnie that we had for a really long time, and I was really glad to actually come up with something that we since this kind of thing is really hard, especially when...
So these are stereoscopic? Yeah. I was one of the hosts of the Idle Thumbs video game podcast for a year or two, and I go on there, and every once in a while those guys are my friends. And I didn't want to put Idle Thumbs references all over the game, but I did want to have Idle Thumbs references in the game.
Okay.
So we localized them entirely to this one piece of paper. So almost everything on here is an Idle Thumbs reference, and specifically to a weird exchange that we had about Will Wright's GDC talk in like 2008, where he didn't want everybody to show up and crowd the place, so he gave his speaker name as Phaedrus, and then did a talk about a bunch of crazy stuff, including the idea of rocket mail, which was going to be like done by it was pitched by the U.S. Postal Service in the 50s and stuff. So Barfburger is enjoyed by all. So the thing is, I drew the Barfburger because I drew all of Lonnie's drawings. So I drew the two cats on the motorcycle and the Captain Allegra drawings and stuff like that. And that. So there's a lot less density in the house than there would be in a real house. Like if you look around your house, there's just junk piled everywhere, probably.
It's just our house.
I think it's most house.
Oh, you're right.
But so our strategy was you either fully invest in something and put like a plausible representation of this aspect of a room in, or you just don't put it in at all, and the player will fill in the gaps between like, oh, these are all the things that represent the kind of room I'm supposed to be in, and it doesn't jump out at me.
One of my favorite things that came out during development was someone wrote an email mistakenly referring to Mittens, and Steve replied in the voice of Katie saying, "It's just Mitten. She's only one cat, Mom."
Oh, lol.
Almost none of the events, the little events, in the game are scripted as far as like triggering when you do something specific. So all of the thunder and lightning and the creaky noises in the house, they're all just randomized on timers. The only like scripted thing is in the secret passageway. When you look at the crucifix, they're scripting that detects that you did that, and then it causes the light to pop, which is my one indulgence of like messing with it. You want to talk about a place for Christmas Duck?
This is where Christmas Duck goes.
Oh, it's Christmas Duck's little house.
It's his little house. That's where he goes. He goes into it.
There was something that I always assumed would happen. I know that some people did do it because we got tweets, like on the day of release or whatever, of people referring to this.
Right.
But kind of based on the gnome in Half-Life 2, Episode 2, or whatever, and just a general, I think, instinct to take the first kind of personified thing that you encounter and
drag it around the house with you.
Yeah, like try to take it to the end of the, like take it all the way there with you or whatever. I knew that some people were going to take Christmas Duck all the way from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, and that we needed to pay that off somehow. I used the putback system that in almost all cases is just used to, okay, you pick up a Kleenex box and now you can put it back where you got it. But in reality, I can put one of those putback triggers anywhere in the game that I want. So there's one putback trigger for Christmas Duck where you initially pick him up, and then I put another putback trigger for Christmas Duck here. But yeah, if you bring Christmas Duck up here, you get Katie's interaction prompt that says, "There you go, Christmas duck," and you put him back in his little nest, and he gets to go back to his home at the end of the game.
Good old Christmas duck.
So, Christmas Duck. Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that you encounter in the game. It's kind of personified as a little character, but the thing is, Christmas Duck was not planned. When we were starting the project, we didn't have a 3D modeler because Kate came on a couple months after we started, and we needed a bunch of 3D models. And so I was just going through the Unity asset store. So when I was going through the list and saw this Christmas duck, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay, well, and I grabbed it, and we used it as like a test object just to set up the system where you can grab stuff and carry it around. And then I ended up saying, "All right, we got this Christmas stuff, I'll hide the key under it." And instead of replacing the free model with a totally different thing, just made a real version of it, and Carla modeled it, and Kate textured it, and we kept him in the game, and we're glad, because he's everybody's little friend. Good old Christmas duck.
We got an achievement. Yeah, good old Christmas duck. Yes, mate. I fucking love this game. It's alright. Wait, is that Mario? No. Adventures the Cat. I've never heard of that fucking Nintendo game. Right. Started from 1994. I believe this was like 1995 something. Okay, I've never heard of these. R6, so we can interact stuff with R2.
Mom and Dad are much more actively religious. You know, there's a Bible in the foyer, and there's a Bible in Dad's bedside table.
Well, or arguably they want to appear actively religious. But yes.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, my intent was that they aren't super religious, but they probably still go to church.
And they also they would feel bad if they put their Bibles away. They'd be like, oh, we need those to be out for us to look at, to consult in case we need them, or something.
But it's definitely, I don't know, it comes from my own experience of my parents went to church and were more religious and stuff, and as, I don't know, around when I was like 10 or 12 or something,
what the
just sort of like, I remember having a conscious realization of just, no, this makes any sense.
I don't get Lonnie sometimes. Like, her band, and our zine, and her hair, and everything are all anti-authority. But I watch her in JROTC, and she's doing drills in perfect formation, following orders, no question. And there's all this stuff in the news about don't ask, don't tell. Like, she's going to join the army and then have to lie about who she is. She said they don't need to know what they don't need to know. Like it was no big deal. This from the girl who trashed her locker to, like, defend my honor. I've learned when to stop arguing, though. I don't think Lonnie even gets Lonnie sometimes.
Hey, that's Nirvana song. Smell like Teen Spirit. Okay. Gross. Wipers. Kicking against the page, okay? Not enough. Not enough. Right. Oh, Delio. Right. Right, Delio. I have none of those. Right off 95. And stop. Oh, so that's actually a real song. The X-Ray Cafe. Wednesday, 13th of April, all ages, $5. Bratmobile. Get us at the front. Ready, bro?
Fanzines. I mean, that's one of the things that we started doing right away, was doing these Riot Grrrl fanzines, and everyone would contribute and write, you know, an article for it, and then we'd compile it and make these Riot Grrrl fanzines, and we would mail them out to people. I mean, you know, all this is so funny to talk about it before the internet, but you know, we used the mail, and people would write. You know, we had a P.O. box, and we started getting letters because people would read in someone else's fanzine. There's this Riot Grrrl thing that started happening, right? And it just, I mean, it was the most incredible thing. It just snowballed. Girls wanted to be a part of it immediately across the country, right? So from the time we started Heavens to Betsy in 1991, I think it was only a year later, right? So 1 year of Riot Grrrl meetings and these letters happening, these fanzines happening. Well, a year later, we left.
The music for Gone Home was mainly composed over 2 separate periods, roughly a year apart. A version of Part 1 of the game had to be ready by October 2012 for submission to the 2013 Independent Games Festival, so I did all the Part 1 audio logs primarily that September.
Almost none of the events, the little events in the game, are scripted as far as like triggering when you do something specific. So all of the thunder and lightning and the creaky noises in the house, they're all just randomized on timers. The only like scripted
Another board game. This one wasn't done by me though. This one was done by Carla. But I really like it because the ghost figures on the back of the game are actually long deceased family members of mine. When I was home at Christmas, I was digging through my family's basement, sort of getting an idea of what a basement has in it, just sort of for set dressing purposes. And while I was down there, I found a big box that my family actually hadn't seen. We got a big box of things from my grandmother after she passed away. And inside this box was all these tin types, love letters and sort of emigration papers and notes from as far back as the 1850s when my family had emigrated from Scotland and Ireland. And I asked my family if it was possible that I include these in some sort of artistic project, and they said sure. They gave me their blessing. And I scanned them, and I didn't know if they were actually going to make it in the game, but then I saw that Carla had made this game, and really liked that they showed up as ghosts on the back of it. And it's sort of, I think, a nod for idle pharmacists who really feel quite passionately about ghosts, as it turns out. Surprise!
Here you go. I gotta go. There's a bit. Oh. There's a cassette player. I'm not gonna. Look, oh look guys, it's marijuana. Jesus Christ, how big is his house? Like, I know it's meant to be quite big, but not that big. Fucking hell, I know that's what she said. Right. still made by Lonnie. That is Sam's, I believe. Really like weird.
I really enjoyed playing Gone Home. I have to say it was pretty exciting to find the Heavens to Betsy tape, you know, because that was really, I mean, those songs really did come out on a cassette tape at the time, and that really was how people discovered the music, was getting a cassette tape passed around. So getting to put it in the actual tape player and play it and listen to our song, it definitely gave me chills. I mean, it was like, wow, you know, how exciting for a young person today to get that moment of discovery and to listen to our music. I mean, I think it's great.
Right. Oh, carrots. Right, screw it. I'm just decided to walk around. Like, okay, you know, I'm just going to discover the whole content of the area.
In an earlier version of the story in Gone Home, Sam and
Katie, you know how Mom and Dad are. Not exactly super open-minded about things. It feels like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen if they did? You know Dad's joke about the nunnery that he'd tell whenever he brought boys around the old house? I wonder where he'd want to send me.
Yo, man, what the fuck? Like, why would you kill Undyne? The way it looked like Undyne, someone else would look like something else. In Espanol. Oh, it's a Spanish book. This Kate probably brought back.
So earlier in an earlier version of the story in Gone Home, Sam and Lonnie got caught together, and Lonnie's dad was like an asshole about it and threatened to send Lonnie to live with her mom in Florida. And we cut that. It was too melodramatic and it wasn't really interesting. It was an external force that was acting on them, which I wasn't super excited about in practice and so on and so forth. But it caused there to be this concept of Lonnie's mom living in Florida, which
Florida is, of course, the worst place you can live.
well, let's not assume. But that said, it's the other side of the country, and it's totally so foreign from Oregon and everything. Also, it's where I grew up.
Yeah, that was.
So so yes, the reason I think that Lonnie's mom lives in Florida is that I grew up in Florida, and I moved from Florida to Oregon when I was like 19, and I've been back to visit, but you know. If someone were to say to me, "Hey Steve, do you want to go back and live in Florida?" I would take a sheet of notebook paper and I would write "no" on it, as big as you can get, and hand it back to you. There would be knives, there would be gravestones, there would be
dead
lightning,
face.
Big X's in the eyes, vampire teeth for some reason.
I was largely unfamiliar with Florida, and my family started going there every once in a while, or when I was like in high school for Christmas, because my mom hates being cold. And
pick the wrong goddamn place to live, Mrs.
I know.
Zamanja.
Yeah, well, you know. But anyway, the only thing that I remember basically is that everybody had lawn flamingos, and we went around Christmas, so I remember hearing on the radio multiple times dogs barking Christmas carols. That's Florida.
Florida sounds cooler than I.
You know, it's really about the ideals.
All the sliding doors that you see in the game are actually, from a code perspective, drawers. When I made a thing that could slide along a track like that for the purpose.
Daniel finally came over to get his game.
Damn, Daniel.
When you put out any sort of content about your game online, whether it's screenshots or whether it's gameplay.
For a long time, the kitchen was not going to be mid-renovation the way that it is. And it's one of those things that I think that necessity, a production constraint, actually made this part of the house better than it would have been if we could have just done whatever we wanted. Because for a long time we were like, okay, we're just going to need a kitchen, and so we're going to need a bunch of food, which we ended up making, and we're going to need a bunch of appliances, and we're going to need a bunch of, utensils, and a block with kitchen knives in, and all the kind of stuff that would be in a kitchen. And at some point, we just realized we didn't have the bandwidth to, of all the rooms in a house, the kitchen, I think, has the most just one-off, unique thingies in it, because there's all these kitchen appliances and stuff that appear nowhere else in a house. And so at some point we just realized it wasn't going to make sense for us to try to portray that in a literal way. And so I just had the idea, what if I just tore the place apart, and the cabinets were sitting on the ground and the counters were laid up against the wall, and it's an old house, and maybe before the family moved in the kitchen hadn't been updated since the 50s, and so they decided to redo the kitchen, and they're in the middle of that when you get here. I think that A, that's hopefully more visually interesting than playing it straight would have been, and B, it allowed us to make this feel like a believable space in a way that we just wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
So I'm Sarah Argadale. This is my salad dressing, named for my experience with being in Russia and that being what everyone knows me for. I studied Russian in college, and I lived there for about a year teaching English when I finished school, and it was a cool thing that happened in my life. So I am a reader of the Idle Thumbs podcast, and I guess that's how I met everyone at the Fulbright company. And
there you
go. Writing Sam was a unique challenge, just in the sense of, on the one hand, it was very much from my personal experience because it's about being a teenager and my memories from that time, as an individual, but also who Sam was and what her experience was, came about as a result of kind of problem solving that we were doing, that Carla and I were doing, just figuring out what the story and what the conflict in the story was going to be. So, by the time we figured out this was all going to take place in one house, and the conflict was going to be between the members of this family, and it had to be kind of irreconcilable differences that would cause serious drama between the members of this family, we started thinking, the fact that there are speedruns for our game makes me really happy, and the fact that, that the any percent speedrun, aka you don't have to pick up anything, just get to the end as fast as possible, has basically been optimized to, I think, 47 or 48 seconds. Even just watching that speedrun is really fun because you see the player optimize. Like, for instance, the fastest speedruns, they don't turn on any.
The sunset.
The fact that there are speedruns for our game makes me really happy, and the fact that, that the any percent speedrun, aka you don't have to pick up anything, just get to the end as fast as possible, has basically been optimized to, I think, 47 or 48 seconds. Even just watching that speedrun is really fun because you see the player optimize. Like, for instance, the fastest speedruns, they don't turn on any lights because it would take a fraction of a second to turn towards the light switch and turn it on and then turn back to the direction they wanted to go. And, they just kind of, like, strafe past things and don't even change direction to move through the house. And then, the 100% Diaries speedrun is even more interesting because players use that secret knowledge to play the game totally out of order based on a strategy for, okay, what's the most efficient way to go to these 24 points in the game?
Like spatially, so it's like this visit, it's the salesman, problem or something, where it has to go to all these different points, and what's the best way to do it. It's cool.
Yeah, and so seeing someone think about the house in a totally different way, and a strategic way that is about this player-created challenge, that says, oh, okay, if I go into the basement first, then back out and into the east wing, then don't even go into the west wing until after, and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool to see that stuff evolve, and I'm really glad that we didn't make it so, for instance, you had to read the note about the secret door before you could even click on the secret door, because it...
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different moms for handwriting. A lot of different moms contributed handwriting for our game. At first, let's see, how did we do? What were we doing first? I think I just did it, and it wasn't great. And then we had Emily do it, but her handwriting was used so heavily in other parts of the game that...
Hi, this is Corin Tucker from Heavens to Betsy.
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music soundtrack for the game. Gone Home is an unusual game, musically speaking, in that it consists of two distinct music soundtracks.
So here's one of Dad's pulpy JFK books. He's now moved on from primary sources to theories about how JFK was killed. However, this one purports to contain the truth. The publishing company is a doofy inside joke because, there's Harcourt Brace, the publisher that exists, and so I was trying to think of a good name for a publisher, and being a big nerd, I immediately thought of Harcourt Fenton Mudd, and how he basically sounds like a publishing company, so...
You have to say who that is.
No!
The doors were actually one of the hardest things in the game.
One of our favorite movies is The Apartment, which was directed by Billy Wilder, and it starred Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, and it's from like 1960, and it's basically what Mad Men is, except actually from that time.
Yeah.
It's super good, and there's this weird like kind of humor. Inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition / in-joke amongst... I mean, it's not really an in-joke, it's just a...
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a synthesis and pastiche of Sassy Magazine, which if you haven't looked at it, or if it wasn't, something that you cared about in the early 90s, it was very feminist and, strongly individualist, and actually gave good advice. It was actually really good. Anyway, so yeah, this is the type treatment, the super grungy type treatment is totally indicative. Most of the bookshelves in the house are filled with undifferentiated books. I mean, they're not undifferentiated, but they are low. This is our old-timey record that we got from archive.org, source of all good things. It's by Adrian Rollini when he was with, apparently, the Taproom Gang. The song is entitled Got a Need for You, in case you can't read it, which you should be able to read it. And the duck I found on the internet. Adrian Rollini I got into him when I was on Bioshock 2 and helping source the soundtrack for that. And I did a lot of listening to 40s big band stuff. And
I feel like one of the best bits of advice was actually from the Fulbright team before going in to do the first recording.
Composing the ambient exploration tracks definitely ended up being the weirdest part of creating music for Gone Home. The audio diaries tended to take precedence since they had such clear criteria for completion, so the ambient tracks were the last things I did. I spent so long immersed in the logs, which were very specifically timed, that to suddenly shift gears to creating these slow, standalone 5-minute pieces was surprisingly difficult. I remember giving Steve a first stab at the ambient track for part 2 of...
Oh man, this thing.
So 2 things. One...
There was a little bit of concern on my part before any of this got started that you never know how much liberty you're going to be given and how much over-direction you're going to get. Because somebody hears it like a specific way, and if you deviate from that at all, you're just going to keep doing the line over and over and over again, like 50 times until it's right. So I really wasn't sure what to expect, but even on the first day getting in there and being able to go through a few of the lines and just give them what came to mind, and seeing how closely I think everyone was on the page about it. So the direction was always really positive, and it was always kind of coming from either additional information that changed the context of what I was reading, or a certain change in the phrasing or the way something is being, a pause here, or maybe move it to here, or instead of emphasizing this word, try this one instead. So you end up with a lot of different takes that really give it a very different feeling, depending on which one you go for.
Yeah, so I'm gonna quickly just quit this because I know that I've definitely felt like the music will be. Well, yeah. I'll just start. Alright. Second I complete this, second I'll be happy.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so, love you. See you soon. Bye.
I like travel around Europe, but the only European place I'm living in right now is England. The biggest... Well, it feels the whole world's watching us now. For a reason. I can't remember the Christmas dusk. Christmas dark. Yeah.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
Yet again, I'm probably going to mute the music here. I think I failed it. I think I didn't do it quick enough.
I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal,
hopefully you enjoyed this live stream. Okay,
that you'll understand why I had to do what I
failed
did,
the challenge, but
and that you won't be sad.
whatever. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.